under the green light, and away we go then, and straight into the lead. James Holman, the poleman.
Paolo De Conto is the 2018 champion. He is victorious once again.
Well done, Lewis Gilbert, and congratulations to Matilda Olson, Strawberry 1-2.
Next time around, they'll get the last lap board. When will Barnacle start to defend? The answer is now.
He goes for the move immediately into the hairpin, and Travers Anuto leads the World Championship.
That checkered flag comes out. Oh, did he love that?
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.
Hello everybody and welcome to the first edition of 2021 of Send It, the karting podcast that covers everything in the world of karting from here in the UK and overseas as well. I'm Jake Sanson, and joining me on episode 1 is Alex Goldschmidt, the voice of Rotax in Europe. Hello Alex, how are you doing?
Good, buddy. Good to finally be back with Send It, as we do know that people do like to overtake like Daniel Ricciardo, hence the name of said podcast. But yeah, it's been a pretty good season, karting back up to full force and flying off of the rev limiter. I really can't wait. We've both been very busy, haven't we? Both with our respective championships that we're haunting this season, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the season's going to bring over the next few months on the run up to Christmas, because both of us have got a really busy season ahead.
We certainly have. We're going to talk about IAME versus Rotax in episode 1 of Send It. Obviously, two of the biggest kart engine builders in the sport. And we're going to look at what the IAME and Rotax classes are doing here and abroad to kind of gauge what you can expect from the categories over the course of the next 6 months. We'll start with Rotax, gentleman's agreement. Rotax will talk with you, Alex, and see how things been getting on here in the UK with the Rotax classes.
The Rotax classes, as always, there's been a resurgence of entries. You know, a lot of people are dovetailing X30 along with Rotax as well. And we're seeing the introduction of Micromax into the United Kingdom thanks to the Sodi UK Academy run by Sodi Vitesse with Mark and Bradley Barrett at the helm. But also a lot of championships, IKR championships, are now embracing Rotax as well. Funnily enough, when I started commentating in 2017, the first circuit I actually officially commentated at was Rye House, which has been around since the early 1960s. It's still running to this very day. And I was introduced to the Rotax Raw. So the good thing is Rotax is alive and well. The other good thing is that people are going more for Rotax. Not too sure why that is, but I think a lot of people, because obviously with COVID-19, and you can see it from a budgetary standpoint, that more people are looking for a lot of bang for their buck. And in some respects, Rotax affords them with a reliability package, but also a good cheap alternative for people that aren't able to afford, due to budget restrictions, to maybe go for something that's going to put them in with IAME, like say X30 Euro Series, X30 Senior, X30 Junior, and even the FIA karting championships as well. So Rotax has its own place within karting, and the reliability speaks for itself.
So it's obviously going to be very, very exciting to see the growth. I know what you mean, actually, about a lot of Rotax drivers doing IAME as well. I think COVID-19 has got a lot of drivers very frustrated, you know. They've been sat there and they've not been able to do anything. Yeah. So I think they're just taking as many opportunities as possible to get out there. But it's quite difficult. I've spoken to a lot of drivers about this, and making that switch from Rotax to X30, they're actually very different machines. They look identical to the outsider, but they're very different machines. So fair play to the drivers, certainly in Britain, that are choosing to do Rotax and IAME, because it means that they're going to be much better prepared when they get to cars.
Very much the case. I mean, one particular exponent of this, I remember speaking to someone that we know very, very well, a shout out to the Door-Eye Diamond, Mr. Lewis Gilbert himself.
What is he having?
Well, the thing was at Kartmasters, when I actually interviewed him on the grid when I was working alongside the one, the only, the Welsh wonder that is Mr. Henry Baudet. We have to give that man a shout out in this show as well. He is part of the karting commentary fraternity, and does like to say his fair share of Freudian slips over the course of commentary proceedings. We both know that very,
I'm
very
sure
well.
we'll get him on at some point. I'm sure we'll bring him to the Send It.
I'm sure we will. It'll have to be sort of like a three-way conversation between you, me, and him a little bit later on this season.
I'll ask the pleasant questions. You ask the dodgy ones.
Well, he'll probably give us dodgy answers for both, whether it's PC or un-PC. You know what he's like. But the good thing is that Lewis said explained to me on the grid. I said to him live on air, courtesy of our good friends Alpha Live, who have been streaming the British Karting Grand Prix at PFI. He was jumping between awnings, so he was going Rotax X30, Rotax X30, and there were so many other people doing double duty. Ben Barnicoat, who broke the all-time GP plate record. You know, he's won 9 Kartmasters titles, and he hasn't gone for number 10. But I think also the good thing is that it helps to well-round a driver and really give them an opportunity to explore different avenues. And I've seen that with a multitude of different drivers this season. Let's take, for instance, FIA World Karting OK Senior Champion, Callum Bradshaw, who took the dip into Rotax this year, alongside someone who's very well known in X30 and also Rotax karting circles, won the 2016 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals as a junior. Well, Mark Kimber, whose sports car career has been a bit in limbo, but he's come back to karting, and he's still as persistent as always as Mr. Kimber.
Yeah, it is baffling, actually, because Bradshaw and Kimber have done exactly the same thing in X30 as well. And it does kind of tell a little bit, doesn't it? Because obviously Callum Bradshaw as the reigning karting world champion in the FIA, and yet this season he's not defending his crown. He's back in Rotax and X30. So he clearly feels that his karting is needing to be more fun than it is business at the moment. And that is a really interesting semblance of just how strong X30 and Rotax are as packages for racing drivers at the moment. It's where perhaps you can have a little bit more fun.
I think also not just about the fun, because as we know on Downforce Radio, our hashtag is personified. Motorsport should be fun. That's one of the things about karting. And you know what? I learned something from every new driver, and I got a little bit of schooling on how to say things differently in the commentary box when, like, you know, you're getting a bit sideways. Well, Callum Bradshaw, because he's based out of Leicester, isn't he? He said, "Yeah, you got to say crossed up when we're getting a bit twitchy." And then from then on in, I've started using it. And it's great because you get so many different characters in the paddock. And it's nice to have someone like Callum, you know, always got a smile on his face. He's really enjoying his racing. And it's providing great possibilities for people to actually test themselves against someone of Callum's caliber. And from my perspective, to have him with us in the Rotax, and he's competing both in the B&L Karting Series and the Rotax Max Euro Trophy this season, with Strawberry, he is a very, very smart driver. And he showed that back in Italy, where I had, my season for Europe has been a bit different to yours in the fact that the majority of my European commentaries have been done here in the home office. I've only had one excursion out to Europe.
Travel's been difficult for the Rotax classes, hasn't it?
As long as it's on the CIK FIA International Sporting Calendar, then that means that people can travel over and compete without having, you know, as long as stage 2 of the CIK FIA mandate reference the COVID-19 pandemic, where Formula One's in one bit, everyone else is in section 2. So I remember having to take all that paperwork over with me to Karting Gates. So negative PCR test, Belgian passenger locator form, RACB invitation letter, promoter invitation letter, goodness knows whatever else. I mean, also being a dual national as well.
You always want to get to the border these days and kind of go, okay, you can have the invasion plans. Honestly, just let me in. Just let me in. It's getting a bit crazy now. I know what you mean.
I think also the funny thing is, from my experience, I mean, because it was the first time since I'd gone to Portimao for the International Trophy, which was actually the last event for Rotax that season, because we were due to go back for the Grand Finals in January 2021. However, the COVID-19 pandemic took another resurgent hold on the globe, and Rotax, with 2 weeks to go, had no other alternative but to cancel the event. And I know that a lot of people were frustrated, myself included, because I had clients working that were going to be racing there. I was also going to be doing commentary alongside Henry and Micro and Minimax, and those are two classes that are part of my stable with Euro Trophy and predominantly with B&L. So this season, I've done the second round of the Euro Trophy from home. So that was for Adria back in late May. I did this. The only trip I've had over was Belgium for the first round of the Euro Trophy. I said, I'm not going to miss that one. And then I did the first 2 rounds, or I did the kickoff for the B&L karting series and the first round a week before the Euro Trophy from home. And I know that you are now in the same boat because obviously with the FIA European Karting Championship heading to Wackersdorf this week.
Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be commentating from home, which is a very strange situation. I've never done it for a European karting event. I've done it for a British event before, but it is crazy. You know, we're still in a situation where people are allowed to go racing, but people like you and me, we're not as important in terms of the eyes of the government because obviously we're media, so we don't have to be at the event. We can be patched in. So it's hard, but because you and I both have clients we need to see and we need to work for, and we're not actually able to get to them because we're not allowed to go to the circuits. It's just bonkers, isn't it?
I know yeah.
Hopefully, it's I'll line out a little bit more and we can start traveling a bit more efficiently. But hey, at least for racing, that's the main thing.
Yes. I mean, it is a worry because, I mean, at the moment, I've got someone else, funnily enough, as we're recording this, who's actually wanting me to work with them on an Instagram DM. Like literally saying, "Oh, I can't do much, but can you do my Instagram for?" It's like it is absolutely crazy. Because for those that know of me, I hope you're all well. But the funny thing is, having started with Downforce Radio back in 2015, where a chance meeting with the man himself, Mr. Sanson, at the Autosport International show, started what has become a really, really good friendship. We're like brothers from other mothers. And we're both in karting, and we're both now in motorsport, fully intertwined. And I'd always thought there's got to be an opportunity. And COVID-19, September 1st, 2020, was the date where everything changed. And now I'm a full-time motorsport mad nut that's earning a living through doing this. And to be honest with you, I've never been happier.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, when life gives you lemons, make pina colada. It's as simple as that, really. So let's talk about the runners and riders in IAME and Rotax in Europe. I'm going to start with IAME Euro. Callum Bradshaw is actually leading the championship in the IAME Euro series, which is proof of just, you know, the kind of form he's in. He bounced back after losing the first round of the championship at Marienburg. Aaron Walker took his first senior victory on his first attempt, so well done to him. Anzo Levesque was there in second place ahead of Oliver Greenall. But Bradshaw bounced back last time out at Zuera. He picked up the victory in front of Kian Shields in second place and Sam Balota, who fought back from, I think, 70th, I think he was, in time qualifying, to fight his way back to third position. I mean, that boy, Sam Balota, just such an incredible talent, and he is now fourth in the standings. So he's a genuine contender for that crown. Mark Kimber's in the top six. As is Louis Westover. Great to see him back in the world of racing again after a couple of seasons hiatus. He's living in Spain these days, Louis Westover, but it's good to see him back. And defending champion in the IAME Euro Series, Guy Cunnington, he's had a very tough start to the season. He's an 8th in the standings at the moment. So an interesting battle so far for supremacy. But once again, we've got 6 British drivers in the top 10. They just seem to be doing so well at X30 at senior level. What about senior Rotax out in Europe? How's that going?
Okay, well, firstly, we'll talk about the two of the 3 championships that I'm commentating on the season, because I do B&L Karting Series, Rotax Euro, and next week, which is June 26th and 27th, we have the first 4 rounds of the Rotax Max Challenge Germany Championship. Well, coming into senior Rotax after 2 rounds, so we've had Genk, we've had Adria. Mark Kimber initially led the standings with the double victory, but the second final was an absolute joy to behold. We had because we had to do something a bit different with our championship presentations. We had to hand over our championship trophies before the second final of each race, which was great because you saw the drivers on there on the live stream being handed with their trophies. Well, it could have been a first victory in the books for the UAE's Lachlan Robinson, third in last year's standings, the only Emirati-based driver with a UAE licence to actually qualify for the grand finals outside of the UAE itself. A really, really good prowess from him. But he jumped from 5th to 1st on the grid. He went on wets, whereas Bradshaw and Kimber, and I'm going to use this phrase now, thank you, Callum, for this one, got it all crossed up. They were on slicks on a drying track. And Robinson was battling away with Linus Henson, who was last year's senior Rotax champion in RMC Germany. And it could have been the fact that we could have seen a UAE driver on, winning a final, and the defending champion in senior Rotax for RMC Germany alongside him on, in the second spot. But if the race was 2 minutes shorter, Robinson would have won it, and Henson would have been second. But it was Bradshaw and Kimber. Bradshaw actually took the victory on the road, but it was given to Kimber as a result of a 5-second front fairing penalty for Callum. Callum, however, came back firing on all 125 cc's of that glorious sound of that Rotax Max Evo engine. He picked up the double in Adria, which puts him 16 points ahead of Kimber going into round 3 at Mulsen, which is the 16th to the 18th of July. Mark Kimber's second. Luca Lystra, a name that we've both commentated on, the young Belgian, is third in the standings. He picked up 2 second places in both finals on the Sunday at Adria. Lachlan Robinson, fourth in the standings. Linus Henson, Sean Butcher, someone who is now also from last year started doing X30 and Rotax. Sean actually was in Minimax before he switched to X30. He took a couple of years off. But, you've got quite a few other people in there. Difficult weekend at Adria for Lewis Gilbert. And also it was a difficult one at Genk because he really loves that track, does the young Scot. Other drivers in there, Dylan LaHaye, Oscar Pelemile, Zombor Kovac, Felix Jansson, Elia Galvanin, Stormbroer, Nick Cuppens and Christian Decline. Decline's actually moved up from juniors to seniors this year, and he rounds out the top 15 in senior Rotax. In the B&L karting series, well, Kimber actually leads the standings on countback. Effectively the event result for round 1. I mean, the championship standings, I'm still trying to keep an eye on what's going on with there. But at the moment, Kimber won the first event. Bradshaw was second. They both picked up a win and a second place respectively. Sean Butcher, last year's champion for the B&L karting series, in third. Lachlan Robinson has actually decided to do both B&L and Rotax Euro this year, so he's doing a double campaign in senior Rotax. Max Stemmerink, Teresa Babishkova was also running in senior Rotax that weekend, and she's currently 6th in the standings at the moment, so that's a real roundup of senior Rotax overseas.
It's fantastic to see how competitive it is there, to be fair. The European scene in both senior X30 and senior Rotax, very ultra competitive. Back home in Great Britain, we've been keeping an eye on how things are going in the national and regional series. Obviously, British Kart Championships, we have to focus on that. In senior X30, Clayton Ravenscroft, he has come straight out of the blocks and he has lost none of his flair. He leads the title after the first 2 rounds. Dominant last time out at Kimbolton. Excellent result from him. Thomas Turner, Lewis Mackey, still very big factors. Serenetti, his switch to Strawberry Racing really seems to have worked for him, and it's great to see after his round 1 win, he is still very confident and very strong indeed. Gus Lawrence, Guy Cunnington, always a massive factor in Senior X30. Still waiting for Caden McQueen to really bounce out of the blocks in the British Kart Championship. He did a fantastic job at UKC in the Ultimate Karting Championship last time out at Wilton Mill, finishing behind Oliver Greenall in the Senior X30 final. So there's a lot of good talent still coming out of Senior X30 this year. The battles are just going to get better and better as the season goes on. Strange that Aaron Walker is doing so well in Europe, but not quite finding that same sort of pace in the British Championship. Not quite sure what's happened to him over the last couple of rounds, but I'm sure he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be fighting fit again. Senior Rotax in Britain. It's been looking absolutely biblical.
Yeah, Reece Hunter currently leads the standings for Dan Holland Racing in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Sean Butcher still sticking his oar in. He's giving his 2 cents. He's 7 points behind after what was one of the most delusional amounts of rainfall I've ever seen at a circuit. And I've been to Genk, I've been to Wackersdorf, where it's absolutely teed it down. Clay Pigeon Raceway, you have clearly taken the biscuit on that one, because we had the electrics go. So the live stream had issues. We then had the meeting called off because of the weather conditions deteriorating so badly. We had like Forrest Gump rain. It was like rain that was straight up, sideways, itty bitty stinging rain, all that kind of stuff. Oakley Pryor in the pre-final. We saw that on Sunday. There was a bit of a window of opportunity for people to go on wets, and obviously when the gates shut, you can't change your tyres. Oakley Pryor he managed to win the pre-final. Whilst everyone else was found to be on slicks, we had 4 respective false starts on that particular race. And I was there personally because I was working in another capacity with one of the many clients that I work with. Oakley Prize there, Kai Hunter, younger brother Therese, who's now fully in seniors this year, both here and overseas. Ben Casely from KR Sport, George Holbrook, Matty Hingley, Rory Hudson, the Welsh wonder from Trafalgar, Matthew Higgins, Will Ellswood. It's good to catch up with him and Sean that weekend. I think it was on the Friday I caught up with them and had a really good chat. I mean, it'd been a while since I'd seen them. And it's only 21 points between 1st and 10th heading into the next round, which will be at Dunkerswell at Mansell Raceway next weekend.
Could be anybody's. Do you know what? There's been a couple of drivers in Rotax I've been watching from afar who've really impressed me this season. One of them you've already mentioned. Well, 2 of them you've already mentioned, actually. One is Oakley Pryor. It's been really good to see him jump up from the Team Clay Racing days to really storm up to the front end of senior Rotax on the national scene. Really good to see. And this year, Ben Casely, he's just suddenly turned a developmental corner. He was always a quick driver, always towards the sharp end. This year, he's got an authority about him. He just seems to have no pressure. He's chilled and relaxed, and he's faster than he ever was.
I think also with that comes consistency. You know, you don't have, in terms of authoritative stamps, I mean, take for instance, and I'm going to, this is going to really please Matthew Higgins' dad, David, because Matthew last year ran as a junior over here in the United Kingdom and won the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships as a junior. Didn't go to the International Trophy at Portimao, which was won by Dan Ginchard when he switched to Argenti late last season, having raced a lot in Germany with SFR Motorsport. But Matthew Higgins last year, before COVID came in and changed everything as we know it, went to the B&L Karting Series kickoff at Karting Genk, and at 14 years of age, I think, if memory serves me correctly, he is the youngest ever senior Rotax winner of that event. He whitewashed the floor with everybody, and what's more, the weather was torrential. And Dylan LaHaye didn't even have an answer for that youngster, who now rocks up into seniors. And Matthew's, to be honest with you, Matthew has had his trials and tribulations as a full-fledged senior now, but the good thing is, someone else is going to win the junior Rotax title, whereas he is now going to show his credence, and obviously with his dad, David, having won multiple British championships in his own right.
Yes, indeed. I mean, full play as well. Yeah, fair play as well. You were talking about earlier as well, Sean Butcher and Lewis Gilbert. It was great to see them fighting for victory in the Ultimate Karting Championship final in Senior Rotax at Wilton Mill as well. Really, really encouraging. It's going to be a very exciting battle in seniors this year. Let's step down a class and look at juniors in the X30 ranking in IAME Euro. Where the hell has Théophile Nile come from? Seriously, where has he been hiding? He's come straight out of the blocks. First round of the championship in Marienburg, boom, fastest and first in every heat and the pre-final and the final. Came out again in Zuera, still finished consistently strong, so he leads the championship. But it was so funny. Everyone in Zuera, everyone in the juniors was going, what's Théophile Nile doing? What's he doing? How quick is he going to be? So incredible how this Frenchman has just come out of nowhere and gone straight to the front. And you've got some really competitive drivers in that field. You've got Kanato Lee from Strawberry. You've got Bart Harrison in at Mick Barrett. You've got Vinnie Phillips in at Fusion. You've got Pod Chaos. Vinnie Phillips is now Strawberry. I do apologise. Pod Chaos for Fernando Alonso Racing. You've got Ivan Arias is in there. Finn McLaughlin. Arthur Poulain, who of course races in the FIA karting as well. There's some massive talents. And Théophile Nile has just come straight out of the block and been incredibly quick. I'm guessing it's a very similar story in junior Rotax out in Europe as well.
Well, there's a whole host of talent, some of which are doing both junior Rotax but also running in the FIA European Championships. 2 drivers of which I and you have both commentated on this season from Stampex Motorsport, Tom Braken and Tim Gerhards. Very, very good young drivers. Yeah. Both Tim is actually a twin brother to brother Nick, who runs in junior Rotax this season. We've got a lot of good drivers in the championships in both the B&L Karting Series and the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. Currently leading the standings in both is Kai Gilles, the youngster from JJ Racing. Last year's junior Rotax champion in the Euro Trophy. I think, if memory serves me correctly, was 3rd last season in the B&L Karting Series. But he leads the B&L Karting Series by just 1 solitary point because a young Latvian by the name of Tomas Stolsamanis put the frighteners on the young Belgian and is 1 point behind going into round 2 at Marienburg on the 3rd and the 4th of July. Matthias Turlo runs in X30 and also Junior Rotax for Strawberry Racing, the young Dutchman. You know what? He's really, really come good this year as Matthias. 3rd in the standings in the B&L Karting Series, and in the Euro Trophy, he is currently down in 6th position. Another young name in that Strawberry Racing awning, Thomas Strauver. The youngster in the 299. He's the pint-sized power puncher is what I'm now going to nickname him whenever I see him. Small in stature but big in heart, and he's a really good kid. I know him and his dad Olivier. I met Olivier at the International Trophy, and he just said, he was like shouting over at Thomas, like, Thomas, come here, you know. And Thomas was like, what now? Doing the old Kevin and Perry routine. But you know, you got Bruno Mars, Max Knappen. And there is one drive, and there is one Brit in this as well. You know as well, Ethan Jeff Hall. Really, really enjoying watching him race. Yeah. Just like Thomas, he might have the smallest stature, and he might just be able to see over the steering wheel. But by God, is Ethan Jeff Hall a really, really good racer? He's also had great runs. You know, he won at the British Kart Championships at Clay Pigeon as well. I think he's been racing in Junior X30 as well, isn't he?
It interested me that Ethan Jeff Hall made the switch. Yeah. Well, he made the switch. Really, he was very strong in IAME Cadet. I'm not sure what his X30 program for the year is, because I think he's been focusing more on the Rotax side of things. But it seems to be working out for him. He really seems to have made the switch, and it's coming good, which is excellent to see. And you know, full credit to Ethan Jeff Hall. He's a great little lad, great disciplinarian, works hard. And yeah, he's definitely coming at this the right way. So full credit to him. If we go back to the British karting scene now, we've obviously looked at things in Europe. In Britain, Junior X30 and Junior Rotax, we're both going to say very similar stories here, because Dan Ginchard, he just can't stop winning. Every time he gets into a Junior Rotax, every time he gets into a Junior X30, he is just cleaning up.
Well, I mean, he wasn't the person. I think he took. Yeah, he's got 190 points in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Obviously, the final was actually taken on the results of the pre-final because the meeting was called. There was a red flag incident, 4 or 5 karts involved, which was caught on the live stream. You know, Leon Henderson, Neo Clark, Daniel Armstrong is one I'm really keeping my eyes on this season from Dan Holland Racing. I've met him and his dad, Alan. And you know, when you get a story, like a proper story of what hasn't gone right, I got that from Alan when we were at Genk for the Euro Trophy. He told me about where they were staying, this, that, the other. I mean, it's really good. And Dan is a really good kid. You know, I think he's going to do really, really well. You've got the likes of Daniel Cibula and Gustav Yusakovs, who have both moved up into Junior Rotax this season, from what I understand. Ryan Willis, Ollie Stevens. One of the other drivers in that, Wales, is Harry Linden. Minimax title winner for Motorsport UK last season.
Yes.
Moved up to junior. He got a bit of a learning experience at Karting Genk for the Euro Trophy when I spoke to one of his family that were there with him. I think it was his dad. I think it was his dad, Joe, I think. That I met up with, and he said, "Oh, are you the commentator?" Was the first thing I get asked, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go again." It's when it's a new face in the paddock or someone doesn't know you, you get that. Are you the commentator? And it's great because you get to meet all these different people in the paddock and get to hear so many stories.
Absolutely. I mean, Dan Ginchard coming out of the blocks this season. I mean, let's not beat about the bush here. In UKC, he is leading the championship, I do believe, at the moment in Junior X30. I'm fairly sure he is. He's leading the UKC in Junior Rotax. I do apologise, because he won both of the events last time out in UKC. He decided to go purely for Junior Rotax at the Ultimate Karting Championship. But in the British Karting Championship, he's won everything in Junior X30 this year, except for the heats at Kimbolton and the final at Shennington. So he's dominating. He's got a 49-point lead over Kanato Lee already in the British Championship, which is absolutely astonishing. And when you consider that in Junior Rotax, he's leading that as well by 4 points to Leon Henderson. I mean, it's just incredible. He could be the first driver for a while to win the junior category in both Rotax and X30. That's almost unheard of these days.
Well, when you think about it, he's on the cusp of being able to go as a senior very, very soon. And I know for a fact that Kart Republic are very, very interested in him. I mean, I've had chats with him and his dad, Tom. Dino Chiesa, I think, did the right thing by getting that guy, that young man on board, who we've both known since his Honda
Yeah.
Cadet days. And the first time I met Dan and Tom was at Rye House, and I think it was for the London Cup that year in 2017. And I've got to know the whole family
I mean, he's a
really, really
serial
well.
winner. There's no two ways.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. He's a serial winner, and I think it's only a matter of time before he's joining Kimi Antonelli and Alex Powell out in the Argenti team in Europe. I think it could even be as early as the next round of the European Championship when they go to Sarno. He could get the call up. He'll be joining mid-season, but there's no reason why he shouldn't get the chance to go out there. And, he could be there in Brazil for the World Championship. I can genuinely see it happening.
I think so as well. I think, at the end of the day, he was one step away from getting to the grand finals. He won the international trophy in Portimao last December, and that got him a ticket for Team UK. So I would have been working with him as being the social media manager for the team, whilst dovetailing everything else, because the grand finals is a busy week. I mean, let alone doing just co-commentary, but when you're doing social media, which is really, really demanding, but it's part and parcel of what we do. We know the sport inside and out. We've got a lot of people that want to work with us. I'm getting people asking me hand over fist at the moment. I was wondering if you'd be interested in doing this, and it's true interest, and I mean, it's great because it's part and parcel of the sport I love. Yes, I'm moving into other things with the likes of a former senior X30 driver, Louis Capasoli, who's now running in the Mini Challenge UK Trophy. I have to give him a shout out. I'm now working with him as he's working the Mini Challenge UK Trophy. So I got the call and literally, yeah, exactly. You once a Carter, always a Carter, as I say. But yeah, Dan Kinchard could get the call up, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if Mercedes AMG take a well-vested interest in him as well, because considering who runs Argenti, Ron Meadows.
They deserve him. Yeah, he's got that kind of talent. I think he should be very strong. Let's talk about the class that isn't really there in Europe in X30, which is Mini X30. I mean, there is a Mini X30 in Europe, but essentially it's the same as IAME Cadet. So Mini X30, the stopgap between IAME Cadet and Junior X30 in Great Britain. And so far in the British Championship, it's all been about Leo Robinson. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's won everything so far this season, and he has a decent lead over Macaulay Bishop and Wesley Swain, and those are not two slow drivers at all. So fair play to Leo Robinson, comes straight out of the blocks and done a cracking job. You've got Jack Hobson and Henry Jocelyn. They're in the mix for the top 5 this season as well. Rylan Ekberg and Eden Spanswick. Eden Spanswick's been very quick out of the blocks. Good to see him doing such a good job. Aidan Hassan, the ever loyal crop promotion driver. He's now top 10 in the British Championship. I bet he's having kittens. I don't think he'd have been saying that a couple of seasons ago. So it's great to see him doing such a good job. Bishop and Hobson were very strong at the first round of UKC at Wilton Mill as well. So was Eden Spanswick and Finn Leslie. Thomas Cucurullo Yeomans has come out of nowhere, and he's in the top 5 in UKC. So plenty of drivers to talk about in terms of talent in Mini X30. I'm guessing Minimax has been pretty intense in the UK as well.
Yeah, I mean, Minimax at the moment, Harrison Crowther from Coles Racing, the number 7 seed from last year, returns to the championship. He's currently leading on 182 points in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Then you've got the likes of Leighton Cooper from Dan Holland Racing, a further 3 points adrift. Then it's a further 3 points back to Ethan Jeff Hall, who we've already mentioned. So he's running as a mini over here in the UK and a junior overseas. Scott Marsh up from micro to mini this season. And also the Charmander. Fresh from his travels with Ambition Motorsport as a Honda Cadet, he's now gone with Argenti in the number 42 entry and running on the Kart Republic chassis. Actually had a really good catch up with him as he is former Ambition Motorsport alumni, and he won the last two finals of the MSUK British Kart Championships as a Honda Cadet last season. He went back to Ambition to do some Minimax testing, but I think the allure of going to Argenti was too much, and they thought, you know what, this is going to give Ewan and also his dad Charlie an opportunity to really showcase how Ewan did, and Ewan won the pre-final for Minimax at Clay Pigeon, but it didn't go all to plan because Ethan Jeff Hall won the final that same weekend. But also, notwithstanding, we've also got some other Minimax competition, and it's not in the Ultimate Kart Championship. It's in the Cadet Kart Championship, run by Matty Street, who not only runs the championship, he's also a racing driver with Team Brit, but he also runs X-Kart, which is the official importer of TB Kart and has been rebranded as X-Kart for the United Kingdom. There's 6 drivers that enter the championship for the first round of the season at the opening round at Wilton Mill. Of course, we have to give a shout out to our good friend Kai Bacchini, who is their official commentator for all CKC and JKC rounds. The driver leading the way, who has not just taken a lap record, but has set the all-time best Minimax lap record, is the driver leading the standings. On 158 points, it's the number 50 of Lizzie Mentier. So she has now got the all-time Minimax lap record around Lyd Kart Circuit in her pocket. And, okay, there were only 2 Minimax drivers in there, but we had still some very, very good competition over the course of the 2 rounds. And also Minimax is very much one of the prevalent championships in Europe through my travels. Obviously, we've had no competition in the BNL and the Euro Trophy in terms of the first rounds, respectively, because through the RACB, it's a very, very different proposition when you look at trying to get elite sports status for all classes. And the Belgians are very, very resolute. They said, well, unfortunately, Mini and Micro do not fit under that category. However, we did have a round of the of Minimax, Micro and Mini at the Euro Trophy in Italy. And we had 2 ticket winners for the International Trophy, which takes place between the 27th and the 31st of July at Le Mans. And the winner of the results in Micro was Austria's Dragos Avisil Kultai, running on the Sony Kart chassis. And what's more, Time Racing Engines supplied the waft for that young Austrian. So he won the event. We had some really good races during there as well. So you had the likes of Paul Schön, Noah Janssen, as FM Racing are now working with CompKart Germany. So they're using the Fluoro. You had the likes of Gabriel Hoffmann, who made his international racing debut, but Jakub Gasparovic was in there. So the young Slovakian, Maximilian Pilch, Branislav Lenka, Marcel Zibo, Boaz Maximov, Maxim Becker, amongst others. Minimax, we had a driver that did the Grand Chelem, Mies Huben from GKS Lemons Power. He's got one hell of a mechanic behind him. Sophie Lansick, she used to race in chrono karting, BNL and BMC a few years ago, but now she's Mies' mechanic. And Lorenzo Lanzara was in there. Lisa Billard were battling away for the scraps on the table. So we had some really good battling. Very, very hot in Adria that particular week. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a few drivers that are still giving Minimax a good old go, and it's good to see that championship that's part of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships in that time at the moment. So
yeah, it's very exciting stuff, very entertaining. One of the things I wanted to talk about as well before we wrap up this look at various categories is the IAME Mini X30 in Europe, because of course the European wing, it's basically cadets, but for the European wing, in a similar way to the fact that, Minimax runs in some places and doesn't in others. X30 Mini in Europe is essentially IAME Cadet, but obviously it's a little bit faster, and there are a few subtle changes. Roman Kamyab's come straight out of the blocks and been very quick ever since he won the IAME Winter Cup back in Valencia in February. So great to see him battling away. He dominated in the wet at Zoera. It just seems to be every time it rains, Roman Kamyab's the boy. He can absolutely just charge away in the wet. And it's wonderful to see. Very similar to Hamilton back at the same sort of period of his karting career. Sacha Van Bosch just 2 points behind him. He was the runner-up last year. And it's great to see Luna Flusha in the top 3 in the Euro Series. She's been building up to this kind of speed and this kind of pace for a long time now. Second at Zoera, very deserved indeed. Great to see her now fighting for the Euro Series crown. And look at the other drivers you've got in the top 6 of IAME Cadet. X30 Mini. I keep doing that. X30 Mini in the Euro Series. You've got Harrison Mackie in there. You've got Raul Thanthaden for Monlau Competición, the Spanish driver, and Rodrigo Seabra, the racing wolf the Portuguese star, is there in the top 6. Of course, we should mention that Tiziano Cugnini would have been in the top 6 and probably could have been fighting still for the title had he not readjusted his front fairing after his heat win at Zuera. It's a learning curve. These kids do it sometimes. You're just so desperate to win. You're so desperate to achieve. I've got a lot more time for the IAME cadets and the minis that do it because obviously desperation kicks in. You're not quite in top of your emotions when the adrenaline's pumping. He'll learn from it. He'll come back and he'll get it back together again. So hopefully there's a lot more to come from Tizzy and from the other X30 minis. What have things been going out in Micromax out in Europe?
Micromax, well, it's been a bit of there's been peaks and there's been troughs. I mean, there's a lot of drivers. Christophe Fagali was running in Micromax last season, son of Abdel Fagali, well known for his antics in drifting, is the elder Fagali. To be honest with you, I haven't really been able to gauge much because we haven't really had that much competition to gauge who are the ones that are really going to be firing on all cylinders. I mean, there's a young driver, a young Belgian who runs under a Swiss license at the moment. I know his parents very, very well. Karel Stout, who actually finished second at the Euro Trophy final round last season in Adria. But there's another couple of classes that I do want to briefly touch on. DD2 and DD2 Masters, the gearbox categories in Rotax. So as soon as you get past senior Rotax, you go into gearbox. So 2 gears, but it's been rather interesting. There's been a couple of drivers that have really been on my radar. Hannes Morin, you might remember that Swede running in X30 and Rotax, STCC race winner with Brink Motorsport. He's returned to Rotax in DD2 this season. Currently 8th in the standings on 30 points. He actually made his DD2 debut with Sodi Vitesse at the International Trophy at Le Mans. There is one flying Frenchman. Well, there's a couple of flying Frenchmen in DD2 and DD2 Masters. Paolo Bassonsene in DD2 for KMD, well known. But also a man by the name of Paul Louvaux, who has got the championship lead in DD2 Masters in the Euro Trophy this season. Paul, running on the Red Speed chassis, took a double victory at Genk and 2 second places at Adria, but it was Switzerland's Alessandro Glauser. Roberto Brzezowski, one of the only driver that has gone on from winning a Euro Trophy crown to becoming the Grand Finals champion that same season, did that feat in 2019. He's back and he's 3rd in the standings. Christoph Adams, the most decorated Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals participant with 17, I think it is, successive Grand Finals to his credit. He even flew over to Argentina to race in Max Masters, a class that doesn't really happen that often in Rotax, to go for the Grand Finals, and that would have put him in. I know that one particular Canadian friend of mine, and now I'm going to make sure that his name is correct this time. It's Scott Campbell. Says that one day I want to beat Christoph's record, but Scott has been more behind the photography lens and behind the microphone a little bit more. But then also going into BNL, DD2, Davide Fore, multi-time world champion, back in action. Really good to see him. The Italian, he's in his mid-40s now. He's 2nd in the standings after the first round at karting Genk. He even took part in Italy. You've got the likes of Zander Schublak, who I understand is possibly going to be doing KZ this year, KZ2. Fabian Bock, newcomer to DD2, moved up from seniors. Yanni Gustens, Ragnar Veres, Sebastian Janchevsky, Manuel Attention at McNulton, just a few other names in there. Carl Klebort, the guy that we affectionately call De Bakker. He's the fastest baker in Flanders. That was the lengthy version before I wanted to go a bit Dutch on it. And De Bakker sounded a bit better. And he said, hey, I like that one better. It is Rudy Champion from Piquet's Competition, out with a hand injury at the moment, unfortunately. He was last year's DD2 Masters champion. He's 2nd in the standings for BNL. But he's slipped down the order because he was no-show at Adria, which was a real shame. Pritzai in there, Jonathan Wermore, Ian Gepps, Tom Dessert, a few other names. And DD2 and DD2 Masters, I mean, if I was told, right, you're going into Rotax next season, I would definitely be in DD2 Masters because I'm over 34 years of age.
Good to know. I'd like the idea of both of us going DD2 racing at some point. I'm still completely and totally... I'm I'm still mourning the disappearance of X30 shifter on the European scene. I still miss it. I think it would be wonderful if we had X30 shifters returning to the Euro Series at some point. Hopefully, when the homologations and the rules are all sorted again, we'll get a rapid return. I haven't even finished talking about the cadets yet. Goodness me. Suddenly realised how many people there are going around. And I didn't even mention LGM. Oh, this is ridiculous. There's so much to talk about. We don't have time for it all.
I think
incredible in X30.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because obviously I'm doing the Bambino Kart Club opening round. We're both on the championship this year. You're doing, I think, a lot of the commentary. Obviously, You're doing the final round of Raura, and then the 3 rounds that are done with TDI Media. Whereas I'm doing doing rounds 1 and 3. First one at Wilton, third one at Fullback, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah. The likes of Jensen Chalk in IAME Cadet. He's running with Mark Baines. Good old Mark Baines. We love we love Bainesy. We do. It's really good. I mean,
we love to love him. We love to hate him. We hate to love him. We hate to hate him.
Well, he does have some. Bless his cotton socks. They're not very cotton. They're probably dirty socks.
No,
behind
not
dirty trainers. That's before we've even talked about his industrial language at the best of times when it's not on camera, of course. But yeah, he's a good bloke, is Mark. He says exactly what he means, and you've got quite a few young drivers in IAME Cadet going into it this year, with LGM, Bambino Kart Club running Honda and IAME Cadet. For all 6 rounds. I mean, there's a lot that always goes on in IAME Cadet. It's difficult to keep up. You've got people like Jesse Phillips, Jacob Ashcroft in that mix. Logan Howes running in IAME Cadet. This was with Sam Pollitt Racing.
Zach Drummond.
It's like the who's. It's like the
George
who's
Edgar.
who. I know. It's ridiculous how many drivers we've come across on our travels. And when people go, how come you mainly do Rotax, Alex? And I said, well, there is the odd occasion when I get to commentate on IAME Bambino and IAME Cadet, and it's quite refreshing.
Yeah, it's the same. Everyone says to me, why don't you commentate on Rotax? I said, well, I do occasionally dip in, but it's established. You're Rotax like Miami. This is how it works. That way we don't steal work from each other. It works perfectly. It's a symbiotic relationship we've worked out here. Now,
exactly.
Let's discuss the rising talents for this season, because there are some really decent names that are coming through. I've tasked us before this show began to pick 5 from Rotax, 5 from IAME. I've picked IAME, you've picked Rotax, obviously, because we've seen each other's work a little bit closely. So I'm going to start with you, Alex. Your 5 names from Rotax this year that we need to watch. They may not necessarily be at the front, but who are definitely for you making big inroads into the front end of the karting paddocks.
I'm going to go a bit more IKR on this, if I'm completely honest with you. There is one name that screams volume. There's 2 names actually from national talents that are in big championships, and those 2 are Ethan Jeff Hall and Ewan Sharman. And the reason why is like I have been significantly impressed. I mean, Ewan has come from Honda Cadet and he's gone into Rotax, and he has found it so different. But his performance speaks for itself. As I said, he won a couple of Honda Cadet finals last year in the British Kart Championships. Now switching over to Argenti and going to Minimax, I think now will make him a bit more of a rounded driver, because you always find, and this is something I've noticed over the years, that a lot of the Honda Cadet drivers tend to go for Rotax. They tend to go to Minimax as the next step up. Some of them will go IAME. That you can't please everybody in this world. But Ewan has really impressed me. I think Ethan, with the fact that he's doing Mini over here and he's going over to Europe and racing as a junior, that is going to help him no end. I mean, he's been up against some stiff competition already this season, and the season hasn't really gotten into full flight. For me, those are the 2 in national high-profile championships that really, really stand out to me. But because I've been keeping my eye to the ground on a lot more IKR, more grassroots championships, ones that promote fun, fair racing. When you get to, like, say, the UKC and the Motorsport UK, the Vera Tools Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. I have to put the one full lengthy version of it into a show here on Send It. There are significant prizes on offer, and it is taken so seriously. In the IKR Championships, okay, it's taken serious to a point, but getting out of the karts, the kids have a laugh, they're friends, and that's what I love about being in the karting paddocks. So the three drivers, one of which I've already mentioned, no less, Lizzie Mentier. Keep your eyes on that young lady. I mean, for her on her second event this season to take the all-time minimax lap record at Lid. Okay, there are only two drivers, but she literally. I found that out before the prize ceremony, and she did a really, really good job. There is a youngster in the X-Kart in the X-Kart group. Now, obviously, I do work with some of the clients that we're talking about. So I do work with Cadet Kart Championship and I do work with X-Kart. But I'm looking at it from a more neutral perspective. The final one I'll get to in a second, but it's for very, very good reason. Jacob Jukes, number 34, runs with X-Kart, Junior Rotax. He was the CKC Cadet Champion last year. Okay, he hasn't had the best of seasons. But when he is on form, he flies. He took a win at Stretton a few weeks back. CKC, well, his Junior Kart Championship season hasn't really gone well. He's had injuries in both. The first one, he required medical attention. But the reason why I see that youngster as having a real good opportunity. He's an X-Kart driver, but he has pace. And the unfortunate thing is, he hasn't had a chance to display that. That chance has literally been whipped away from underneath his feet like a rug before it's even gotten going. But I know for a fact that kid, if he gets the opportunity to really put the cat amongst the pigeons, and he's done that at the Wilton Mill Kart Club Championship as well, he's showcased that he can do it. The third person. Well, the fifth person, the third and final person out of the CKC, JKC brigade is the young man who I met at Lid. First ever time at Lid Kart Circuit, and he gets on the podium. Ronnie Shrimpton. And I remember, the thing is, the podium accidentally got brought forward. Well, got brought forward, I don't know why. And I had a really lengthy chat with Ronnie and his family. And I said, look, I completely understand. I said, look, it wasn't about the trophy. It was more about being there on there. And I said, look, I completely understand. I said, don't worry. We'll make sure he gets a special mention in the newsletter. And I made sure of that. And for him to be, and it's he actually won the entry free through a prize draw to be at Lid. And to get P3 and for me to take that picture with him on the top step of the podium, this third place trophy, really good. There is one outstanding mention I've got to say here. Will Young, also from X-Kart, had a difficult weekend at Lid, got the Junior Kart Championship Driver of the Day award, which was decided by both myself and Kai Bacchini, because he had a disqualification in one of the races, had a difficult race 2, came back in the final, and started 16th and finished 5th. So Will Young gets a venerable, outstanding mention in my case.
Sounds good to me. That's a really good list of competitors there. It's going to be hard to back that up with IAME X30 talent. I'll give it a good go. We're going to start with a kid who has come into X30 in IAME Cadet pretty darn quickly, and it's a name that you know and that I know very well. I'm going to give a huge shout out. First of all, my first driver to watch in 2021 is Jesse Phillips. Without a shadow of a doubt, that kid's development is extraordinary. I mean, if you think he's only just recently stepped out of Bambinos, they've been testing out in the United Arab Emirates. They actually did a round of the IAME UAE series prior to the British series getting underway. He learned so much by getting a look at the international scene. He's been racing in the IAME Euro series to good success. The big results haven't started coming yet, but his confidence is massive. And he went from finishing in the 20s positions in round 1 of the British Karting Championship to second at Kim Bolton. I mean, that's such a big change in terms of one round to the other. And he's got such a great mentality. He's got good positive attitude. He works well with the team at Oliver Owen Motorsport, with Jake Dalton and all the boys. He's just gelling and storming so fast. I mean, that kid is riving the rest of confidence. They were actually considering resting him for a few weeks. And he said, no, I think I can handle it. I think I can get it on and get it done. And he is really starting now to get those results. It's not going to be long until Jesse starts winning, and it will be regular. It will be a regular occurrence when Jesse starts winning. So I'm really excited to see that one happen. My second choice, Alfie Briggs. Now, Alfie doesn't have the same sort of budget that some of the other guys in the X30 does. What he has is a good mentality and a good team player attitude. He was very frustrated. I think everybody saw at the Wilton Mill Kart Club recently when he got very enraged. And I think he was worried personally that that was going to give people a bad image of him. But he's such a good team player. He's embedded himself so well into Total Karting Zero with Rob Smedley and the team. He's actually teaching a lot of them how to go karting, because you've got to remember that Smedley is still quite new to the world of sport in karting level. So, I mean, he's engrossed with Frankie and with all of the team at Total Karting Zero and really starting to pull the brand forward, getting them up the ranks. And he's doing a sensational job. It's really good to see Alfie Briggs really take it on. And that's now starting to show in the British Championship as well, which is a tough playing field in the British Championship. Alfie is there regularly fighting in the top 10. And it's not, again, it won't be long till he's regularly on the top spot. It's really exciting to see him develop and progress. So great stuff from Alfie Briggs. Another one, a name that not many people will know, but I've been keeping an eye on very closely now for the last 18 months. And again, it's the turnaround from where he was 18 months ago to where he is now that's so impressive. And that's Rowan Campbell-Pilling. Now, Rowan Campbell-Pilling is a name that people will know if they're into the Daniel Ricciardo series. He was fighting at the front there last year. Their season got delayed until the 26th of June over at Hooton Park. So that's when he'll be out racing next. But they've been taking a very cautious approach to their karting season. They want to keep it fun. They want to keep it enjoyable. So they've been at Trent Valley Kart Club. They've been at the LGM series. And after a year last year where they were desperately trying to find a package that worked well, that kind of fitted in with them, they've made the switch now to Litchfield, and the change is staggering. He's absolutely a different racing driver. And now he's fighting for podiums. Now he's fighting for fastest laps, race victories. He's fast in testing. He knows how to make the progression. He's a kid that's really going to start to make waves soon. And that's a name you've got to keep an eye on. Rowan Campbell-Pilling, definitely with a big future this year. My fourth choice is Hadi Mamasi. Really impressive how he's come from cadet, where things were really difficult for him. He kept getting spat out. He kept getting himself into situations he didn't want to be in. He has transitioned beautifully into Mini X30. That kid is a proper championship contender now in pretty much every X30 category he's in this season. He's got a great chance in LGM to win the whole thing. He can win British Championships. He can win at Trent Valley. He can win at Shenington. He's so strong, and he's got that great mentality behind him. It's wonderful to see that he's really starting to chock forward. So excellent from Hadi Mamasi. The development really good. Slimming it down to 5 is really hard, but I've got to. I've got to give it.
Listen, before you go on to your next choice, I have to give Hadi Mamasi a shout out because because he's of Canadian origin, if I remember correctly. I commentated on him briefly on the Bambino Kart Club Winter Grand Prix in 2019, where we got onto the formation lap, and I think he had a coolant issue. And then we had the melee that happened where everyone else, the likes of Lewis Werrell, Nathan Ty, all went off going down the hill coming out of Christmas, and Macaulay Bishop went and won the whole thing. I've been really impressed with Hadi Mamasi's progress as well. I think there are so many talents, it is difficult to whittle it down to 5.
Okay, so my fifth choice, I've thought about this long and hard, and I finally have thought there's one guy from X30 at the moment we really do have to give a bit of a left field shout out to, and that's Harvey Ryby. Now, Harvey Ryby has been in and around the world of X30 for a couple of seasons now. I've been watching him since his days with Kato Motorsport, and he's built and he's developed and he's progressed. Each year has been just a little bit tougher, a little bit harder on him, and he's been able to make the transition. He's grown in stature. He's worked on his physical fitness. He's been there in terms of his testing mileage. He's a much more adaptable racing driver than he used to be. He doesn't just get flustered and throw himself into the first gap he sees. He measures the race a lot more calculated now. and it's got him into stronger positions where people are actually watching to see what he does rather than the other way round. So Ryby is now a real force within Junior X30. I would love to see him make the transition to Europe more frequently. He's had a couple of goes at it now. I want to see him there full time, because the second he gets into Senior X30, he's the kind of driver who could win the Euro Series. I genuinely can see him winning the 2021 Senior X30 Euro Series. I think he's got that mentality, that wisdom, that foresight. And I think the Mick Barretts, the Strawberries, the Fusions of this world should be looking at him as a potential candidate to do that. He's a good potential champion because he's got that discipline now, and he's matured so quickly. He's definitely a guy who's got a good future. And I know he wants to go to cars, but I would just stick it a little bit longer in karting. He's going to unlock something pretty special if he just sticks at it. It's all starting to come to him now. He's at the top 10 regularly. I think he should stick at it a little bit more, because he's just got the mentality to win approaching. And it's going to be so rewarding when he takes it.
That's a pretty good solid top 5 there, Jake. I must completely admit. I mean, you know,
It
names
is going to be a tough season. It is going to be a tough season in both IAME and Rotax. Lots of drivers with lots of skills to show. What's coming up next for Rotax in the European scene, and what's coming up in the British?
Right. Okay. Well, I'll run through the next 4 to 5 weeks of what's happening on Rotax. So, what's coming up? UKC Rowra Round 2, 19th and 20th of June. For junior, senior, and the Sony UKC Academy. Then Motorsport UK British Kart Championships Round 2 at Mansell Raceway in Dunkerswell. That's the 25th, 26th, and 27th of June. At that particular moment in time, the first of 4 rounds of Rotax Max Challenge Germany heads to the Pro Kart Raceland circuit at Wackersdorf, where I am more than likely going to be commentating from. I am commentating from home. I can confirm that. It's already been discussed between myself and my boss at Camp Company, Mike Wagner. The following weekend, Marienborg Karting des Fans hosts the second round of the 2021 B&L Karting Series season. And that's going to be rather interesting from that perspective. TVKC that same weekend will host, it will be TVKC at Paul Fletcher International. They'll have their July meeting, and then also Fullbeck will be the host for round 3 of the Cadet Kart Championship for Junior Rotax and for Minimax that same weekend. 9th to 11th of July, Rotax Max Germany has its second round at the Motorsport Arena in Mulesen, somewhere where I've already commentated, and I think you were due to as well, weren't you? Or are you at some point? Mulesen in East Germany. So we have RMC Germany on the 9th to the 11th, and then the 16th to the 18th
Originally,
of July.
Mulsen was, I think the FIA European Gearbox was meant to be at Mulsen, and now it's at Wackersdorf. So I was going to get my taste of Mulsen, but now I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer for Mulsen.
Well, that's going to have to be on your bucket list, Jake, because I'm going to be commentating on it twice in 2 successive weekends. So we have that, and then also, funnily enough, Mulsen hosts 3 successive weekends of Rotax competition, because Rotax Max Challenge Clubsport, which is they have like a national and a club level side of things on that championship, run by Andreas Martis and Camp Company. And what's also really cool, I think I'm going to be getting my chance to commentate on some Tillotson T4s this season as well, because that's part of RMC Club Sport.
Wow, I love the Tillotsons. They're amazing.
Well, I'm going to be commentating on them at the Bambino Kart Club this coming weekend on Sunday, because obviously the person that is the distributor is Piers Sexton from PSR. So we've got a small grid. I did hear them thunder into life at the official test day, where I was recording for the Alpha Live live stream for the Bambino Kart Club. Then also UKC heads to Larkhall for the 23rd to the 25th of July, and the week after that you have a multitude of events. You have Super 1 at Wilton Mill. You have the Cadet Kart Championship at Hooton Park. You have the Kartmasters, Motorsport UK Kartmasters British Kart Grand Prix at PFI, and then at Circuit Alain Prost Le Mans International, it hosts the 3rd running of the Rotax Max International Trophy. And as I always like to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting started.
Yeah. It's very exciting in the Rotax calendar. In terms of the IAME, there's a very busy month ahead. You've got in the UK, obviously LGM, 2 back-to-back weekends for the LGM coming up. Very exciting to see that their season is finally really underway. Obviously, it's been a long time since the first round at PFI back at the first week of May, and GYG obviously got cancelled due to COVID-19 regulations. But Warden Law this coming weekend, the 20th of June, and the week after that at Rowra as well. Obviously, we've already mentioned UKC that's taking place this weekend, so that's very exciting. In terms of the international IAME ranks, well, next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the week after, you've got IAME Series Benelux for the third round. IAME Series Greece is there for their second round. The French IAME Series round 4 is on the 11th and 12th of July, and IAME Series Italy is at the end of that month as well. And then, of course, the British Karting Championships with the IAME category, well, that is going to be taking place at the West of Scotland Kart Club at Larkhall in Scotland on the 17th and 18th of July. So much to look forward to from IAME and Rotax. We will recoup and we will recover after a month or so to talk about more fantastic IAME and Rotax racing. There is going to be more updates from the IAME and Rotax scene through the course of Send It in 2021. Alex, thank you so much for joining me on today's show.
No problem at all. I do have one other thing to mention as well. Electric-driven karting is very much coming into prominence because there has been big news announced in the last couple of weeks from Rotax. Project E20, which is the in-house second-generation full electric racer from BRP Rotax, is now doing a European tour. What's more, this kart has the can do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.5 seconds. Speeds approaching 140 kilometers an hour on straightaways, and it also has a cheeky little boost button that gives you about an extra 20 kilowatts of power for about 5 seconds. Well, the funny thing is that Rotax Max Challenge Germany at Mulsanne, Rotax Max Euro Trophy at Mulsanne, and the season finale of Rotax Max Euro Trophy at Wackersdorf, which just so happens to be my birthday weekend, so the 3rd to the 5th of September, they will be running Project E20. What's more, there are grand finals tickets up for grabs in the DEKM and also the Euro Trophy as well. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be commentating on it for 3 race weekends. So RMC Germany and both RMC Euro Trophy races. And already there are entries coming in. It's Rotax have developed what they call this plug and play. It's a bit like Club 100 Arrive and Drive, where technical support is given, you're provided with the kart, you go racing. And that's really, really good. And I know a couple of the guys behind the scenes at Rotax who have been instrumental in the development and also the technical support team. Steve Chapman and Daryl Smith, who I know very, very well entrenched in the world of Rotax. Daryl himself, a former Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals winner, and he hails originally from Australia. Both he and Steve now live in Austria, working for BRP Rotax. So that's a bit of closing news from me. But yeah, I'm so looking for... I might be as busier than a Mad March hare all the way through to probably the week before Christmas. But this season, okay, despite COVID-19, Jake, hand on heart, I've never been happy. I don't think you see me happier in the 7 years that we've known each other. That's how it is.
That's a great way to end it as well. We will pick up the Project E20 campaign a little bit later on in the season and get some interesting insight into it later in the year, because I think that's going to be a very interesting story that will run and run. Thanks to everybody for listening to the first show in the series. There will be another one next week where we will talk about the halfway point at the FIA European karting season. Thank you all very much indeed for listening. And remember, sometimes in motor racing, you've got to lick the stamp and send it. See you next time.
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.